What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of In the Cut. It has been a while. I was nursing some injuries, honestly burnt out from the day-to-day teaching with the academy, but now I'm ready to get back into it. I want to take you guys through the facility. I did come here before the new year. It's always tradition to clean the gym and make sure it's in tip-top shape going into the new year. So let me take you through that. I have this all the way down here. And this is getting ready to be put up, so I bought a hexagonal light. I'm sure you've seen that in a lot of different garages, gyms, and whatnot. But I did want to do something a little bit more nicer for our reception area, so not to blind you guys. But we have that light bar up there. It's pretty much the same lights that go out through the entire gym. So I wanted to bring it up there so it's kind of just, resting right on top of the reception area, give it a nice little bit more of a luxe feel. And now the biggest thing that we're actually going to be getting, the order was placed a few weeks ago, so it should probably be here end of the month, maybe February. But what you will start to see is behind me here, we are going to get wall mats going from that wall all the way down here. Originally, we were going to get the same color mats that I am on right now, which is like this dark gray tatami. But we ended up going with black, good contrast. I got a great deal on it. And then behind me is going to be in monochromatic black and white. It's going to be the Union Martial Arts logo as well as the Anastasia Kali logo, which looks like this if you guys are new to the channel. So basically, there's going to be a white outline here. This is going to be in white. This is going to be in black. Okay, and then you'll see that kind of pop up. I'm thinking kind of like splitting it up into thirds and having it kind of at the intersecting lines here. But that's going to kind of complete the look of the actual mat side. I do got to think how I'm going to film videos because I don't know how well the black on black is going to show, and I do love my black shirts. But it's going to definitely be safer because we are adding in 2 new classes, which we have women's only yoga, which I'm not teaching. But we have that now in the new year, as well as we have a no-gi jiu-jitsu class that is run by one of our students here as well, who is a purple brown belt. He's been training for over a decade. He's a killer. He's won gold in almost every competition that he's been able to take part of. So I'm super excited to have those 2 on top of what I'm already to do. Number one, it's going to reduce my workload, give me a little bit more balance for the foreseeable future. That's going to allow me to be a little bit more present, apply myself a little bit more better throughout the year. And then again, with my family, I want to make sure that with this venture, I am able to still be dad. I'm still able to be husband. I'm still able to be friend and allow myself to, maintain that balance for the rest of my life. But in a more martial arts sense, it's kind of like the trifecta that we've always been missing. We did have a jiu-jitsu program back in my Brampton location, all the way in Ontario. We had that for a couple years before COVID, and then unfortunately things didn't really work out. So we kind of scrapped that idea and went with what we called blend, where we started to put everything all together. I continue training jiu-jitsu on my own. It's something that I love. It's pretty much Filipino martial arts on the ground to me. But I never felt right to teach things that, were above and beyond what I'm able to do. I am a blue belt. I, know the basics. I continue to roll and train through the course of my training since I started jiu-jitsu. But now that we have an actual instructor and we have an actual program, I'm excited to continue to grow with the art, to see the students grow, and now we have kind of like the face to the 3 important divisions, and I know there's more to it, but we have obviously our striking program, we have our Kali program, which is our weaponry, if you will, and then we have our no-gi jiu-jitsu, which will be our grappling, and you do have a little bit of clinching and grappling and striking. You do have striking and grappling in Kali, and what's most important to me with the jiu-jitsu program coming this year is it's not just sport, it's still very self-defense based as well. So you'll obviously get to defend against punches and clinching and even some sort of weapons. And perspective is the key to martial arts. I don't think there's one better than the other. I think there are more organized systems of training, but I don't think that it necessarily is, jiu-jitsu is better than Kali, or, kickboxing is better than jiu-jitsu. I think you need to know a little bit of everything so that you don't get caught by things you don't understand or you don't know. And ultimately, that's going to help you create your perspective into, call it your MMA or call it your mixed martial arts. And, take a little bit of everything and blend it all together and put it into a way that's going to make sense to you. And whether that's through my terminology, whether that's through, an instructor's terminology, whether it's Japanese, Filipino, European, doesn't matter. So those are the big things happening. We've been working on this for a while, but we kind of just left it to sit in the bleachers for the holiday season. January 2nd is today's date, so we are back here January 4th, just for a little bit of Saturday striking classes, but our main fundamental classes are going to be starting January 6th. Wanted to get a head start and make sure that I could wrap my head around everything. And that's part of, adding in those two classes is so that I can guide them and allow them to do what they do best, which is to teach their particular area of expertise, jiu-jitsu or yoga, not have to worry about the business side, and allow myself to apply my skill set on the business side a lot more conscious, if you will. So on that note, what I wanted to do this video is I actually wanted to talk about the business side, which is something that I don't do much, but I'm very passionate about. This gym reached its 1-year anniversary last September. And the crazy thing is that this gym is bigger than my Ontario gym that's been open for 11 years. Now, to be fair with a lot of the Brampton gym, my Ontario location, I was growing and learning as I was doing it. When I opened this gym, I was able to take that decade of experience and apply it all at once. But an important thing to note is, now it's not, something crazy. I know there are schools out there that are making well over, $1 million a year. But as a small business owner, as self-employed, self-taught, and even as an employee group of me, myself, and I was able to build a 6-figure gym once in 10 years, and then I was able to build a 6-figure gym in less than a year at this location right now, which is our new flagship location. So I wanted to share with you guys a little bit of my experience, as well as some of my tips and how much I can condense it down to be able to give you guys maybe some insight to help build your academy. And it doesn't have to, jump from, making a couple $1,000 to $1 million overnight. It is a long-term process, but if you, set the infrastructure up right, if you give yourself, again, more perspective, I promise you guys it is a tried and true formula. I've done it twice now. I literally picked my life up, moved it across the country into an area where I knew nobody but one family, which is actually relatives. And I was able to build a gym now that is bigger than my original location. So, but before we do that, I'm gonna bring you guys through a 3 5-minute round warm-up / workout that I like to do for all of my striking students. A lot of my private students go through this, but this is just gonna be my way to shake off the rust over the holidays and give you guys some input on how to train using the heavy bag by yourself and how to keep your body moving without having to just touch your toes for 10 seconds. So usually when I do my solo training here, this is pre-class, but I get this a lot in my classes as well. I start off with nice easy 1s and 2s, just shaking the dust off my hands and getting the connection from my shoulders all the way down to my feet. Now this exercise here has been super key. I learned this from my good friend Miguel. Being able to teach your body how to transfer the weight from the heel all the way to the ball of your foot and then stabilizing up there. That's been huge for my ankle stability, as well as just being able to move at the pace that I've been moving for the past decade. What you see here is my knee openers. So we have 2 different motions. This one is up and out. I want to be hip level and I want to be creating a lot of mobility here. This is a little bit more on the stability side. We're going opposite. So you want to keep a shoulder width apart and hold that for about 1 Mississippi. And then to kind of finish off that trifecta of knees, we're going to go big knees going forward, pushing the hips all the way down. This is our shot put. You want to make sure that it's kind of like a chain of events here, leading from the foot all the way up through the knee, hip, shoulder, twist it all the way through. Get a nice stretch throughout your spine. Next, we'll move on to a little bit more stability as well. So we're going into body lunges, not for depth, but for stability. So as we get there, we're going to turn to the opposite side and tilt to make sure that we can control our body on different axes here. Once we finish our stability drills, we go into rhythmic drills. So this is a very simple footwork drill I love doing. It's just a forward back switch mantra, just keeping myself ambidextrous and nice and light. So what you see now, we're heading to the bag. But before we get a little bit more into the detail of this bag work here, it's very important to understand that the warm-up duration, where you see all the exercises we did before, is actually a little bit longer than what I showed you. It's just a little guideline. And the most important thing that I found with my warm-ups is you want to make sure that you're not rushing through it. Whenever you're warming up with a class or doing it, in different environments, a lot of the times people feel nervous and they feel like they have to move really, really fast or, get to the end of the line. And the objective becomes completing the exercise rather than getting very valuable reps. So this first round here, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of keeping it as a generic 5-minute bag work round. Not so much on the power side, not so much on the speed or continuous side, just kind of working some things out and just letting my body start to apply all of these kind of fundamentals I've been warming up in the classes prior. My second round, I will slow it down and I really dig deep and I look for big power shots. So the idea here is more quality over the quantity of strikes, and I want to make sure that everything I'm doing, I'm very conscious of the torque that I can create, the pivot in my foot, the twist in my hip. Being able to kind of pierce through this bag is kind of the number one goal with those power shots. So big, deep breaths, heavy shots. Which kind of gets us into the final round. And this final round here is my nonstop round. So I'm going at about a 6 RPE. But I want to make sure that I create contact every single second. And all my shots are, 6 RPE, but really the extension here is kind of like 50-40%. And I'm really just shooting it from my hips and my shoulders. I'm not letting my hands extend too far. And this is really on the rhythm side. I like doing this just to allow my body to feel comfortable with, active recovery and being able to throw shots and being able to stay in position without having to unleash chaos and be able to, fulfill that knockout strike. Not everything has to be a knockout in these continuous rounds. This is great for stamina. This is one of my favorite ways to kind of not only physically pace myself for a longer period of time, but also condition my brain to allow my body to understand that I don't need to stop. I just need to adjust the game plan slightly. So usually after the 3 5-minute rounds, I typically have about 30 seconds to a minute rest in between. But on the last one, I like to go straight into shadow boxing, and this is my cool down period. I focus a lot on positioning, and I try to visualize the fight. And these can be sparring rounds that are fresh in my mind or just scenarios that I've commonly put myself in. And I want to make sure that I focus more on the setup. I want to focus more on the angle creation, the positioning, and making sure that it's not just throwing these crazy combinations that I could do on a bag or even pad work, but I want to make these combinations fit that sparring match I'm having in my brain, what I'm visualizing. And just teaching my body the rhythm of actual combat, okay? There are big moments, and yes, we can have a different game plan where we just rush in and try to knock the person out, but then there's also the long-term game, the strategy, and just being able to control certain positions, being able to neutralize their attack, keep a little bit more of an elusiveness in my setup, and making sure that my technique is sound and I can, throw it when I need to and not necessarily because it's kind of just that combination I've been spamming in my head. So I'm just doing this to, again, active recover, but to finish off mentally strong, physically strong. And that pretty much wraps up about 25 minutes of training. All right, guys, so it's been like a week since I originally planned to upload this video that you're watching right now. But if you can hear that annoying buzzing, I can hear it in my sleep. They were testing the fire alarms all over this plaza. And coincidentally enough, our notifier, annunciator, whatever you call it, that box thing, it's connected to the condos that are behind us. And lo and behold, there's some technical issue in the electrical room, not in our building, but we get that buzzing or that beeping and we literally can't do anything about it. So I have not filmed. I haven't been able to, finish the video the way I wanted, but this is going to wrap this video up. I hope you guys enjoyed the warm up. I know I said I wanted to talk about the business advice. That clip is super long and I feel like there's so much value in it that I don't want to chop it up. So I'll put that in a new video to fill in the blanks while we wait for this whole enunciator thing to finish. But I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of In the Cut. Stay tuned. I hopefully have some more content coming your way. We got a few stockpiled, so we'll get that out for you until we're able to resume filming. But make sure you guys like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.